Good day, everyone. Our topic is research proposal as part of thesis and dissertation reporting in institutions, video 1. I am Professor Nkechi Patricia Mere Somon, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Research proposal as part of thesis and dissertation reporting in institution, video 1 is our topic. In this video, this is the video 1 of a bigger topic, which is research proposals and full report. What is research proposal? Research proposal is a written report of what and how a researcher intends to investigate a research problem. In writing research proposal, the researcher demonstrates that they know what they are seeking for and what they have the skills to successfully accomplish it. Research proposals are presented and assessed by institutions before data collection for postgraduate thesis and dissertation. See, when we talk about research proposal, generally, two things come to mind. Research proposal for sponsorship, the one offered by funding bodies, and then the research proposal done in institutions. So our topic is centered on research proposal that is done in institutions, particularly for thesis and dissertation, for master's degrees and the students who are doing PhD. Format for research proposal. Every institution has format for reporting research proposals. The differences among formats of different institutions are subtle. So, but the general format for presenting research proposal in education as a discipline in institutions of higher learning is as follows. So we are going to give the general formats. Title page, table of contents, chapter 1, which is introduction, chapter 2, review of related literature, chapter 3, method. We have references and appendices. Chapter 1, introduction. The subheadings in chapter 1 are background to the study, statements of the problem, purposes of the study, significance of the study, scope of the study, research questions, and or hypotheses. Let's take it one after the other. We now have background to the study. In the background to the study, the researcher traces the factors or circumstances that inform the study. The problem of the study is identified and discussed. Its dimensions or history can be stated, and evidence to show that the problem exists with appropriate citations and references. Here, all the concepts in the title and the variables should be identified, defined, or explained. Few of previous works in the area can be cited. We normally use it to establish gap the study want to fill. Statement of problem. The problem that was identified, discussed with citations in the background, is now summarized in a clear and unambiguous terms. If the problem is well presented in the background, citations are no longer needed. Statement of problem should be short and rarely exceeds 1 page. The problem of the study is not the same as the title. Most of the time we confuse it. It is what you use the title to solve. Purpose of the study. The main purpose of the study, which is the aim of the study, is stated. The main purpose broken into specific purposes. These specific purposes are stated in measurable terms and clearly outlined. That's purpose of the study. We look at the scope. This is delimitation of the study. This embodies the subject content and geographical boundary of the study. If there are areas or issues about the topic that are obvious but will not be included in your study, you should state that. You will say that so and so are not part of this study. So we talk about research questions and our hypothesis. Research questions are the questions that will drive the study. They are formed from specific purposes. When any specific purpose is turned into question, it becomes a research question. Hypotheses are formed by comparing groups on specific purposes. Then chapter 2 is review of related literature. Literatures are reviewed and presented under appropriate subheadings based on the variables in the study. Generally, it should be analytical and deductive. The researcher should critically comment on all materials reviewed. Literature should show the link between each review or section of the review to the problem under investigation by highlighting the gap which the present study intends to address. Sometimes some institutions specify subheadings under which literature can be reviewed. If they do that, follow their guideline. In all cases, review of empirical studies that are related to the study is central in literature review. And there are other versions of it. In recent time, some of the subheadings for literature review include conceptual framework, theoretical framework, theoretical studies, empirical studies, and summary of related literature. So when we say conceptual framework, how is this presented? Where is it applicable? This shows how variables and major issues in the study connect with one another. Conceptual framework is better shown in a sketch. Then we talk about theoretical framework. This section lists and discusses the theories that are relevant to the study and on which the study hinges. In discussing the theories, the researcher should show how the theories are related to the study. Then we have theoretical studies. This session discusses all expository work related to the study. These include position papers, opinion articles, literature work, relevant material literature by renowned scholars in the area that are discussed under this subheading. Then we have empirical study. This section has a subheading guided by major parts or variables in the study. This is where empirical studies that are related are put together, synthesized. Put differently, the review should bring out areas of agreement and disagreement and show how the present study arose from contradictions or inadequacies of earlier investigation. Then we have the summary of the related literature. The summary of the related literature should be given here in deductive form in such a way that at the end, the gap that necessitated the research is shown. So no longer, nobody will, after literature review, nobody will be in doubt whether their study needs to be done or not. Because there will be exposition of past works, right? Past related works. And then if there are things they did not do well, if there are gaps, if there are inadequacies identified, then based on the gap you have discovered, your work is situated. Then we have chapter 3, we call it methods. The subheading in chapter 3 include research design, area of study, population of the study, sample and sampling technique, instrument for data collection, validity of the instrument, reliability of the instrument, method of data collection, and method of data analysis. So, if it is experiment, you put experimental procedure. If it is instrumentation, you also add instrumentation procedure. So let's look at design. The most appropriate research design for the study should be identified, stated, and justified. In experimental study, I've said that experimental design should be stated and shown in symbolic form. Then another part of chapter 3 is area of study. Area of study here, it is the geographical location for the research. It could be a country, a state, education zone, or local government area. This does not just entail a mere geographical description of the area of the study. It covers, more importantly, the characteristics of the area that justify the study being conducted in that area. So the characteristics of that area that relates most to your study need to be highlighted. Population of the study. Here, the researcher identifies or defines the population of the study and states the population size. Very important. This covers the persons or terms from where the data will be collected and to whom the findings of the study will be generalized to. When we talk of sample and sampling technique, the sample is a part of population we want to study. So in reporting it, the sample size is stated. Sometimes the rationale for the sample size may also be stated. It may also be necessary to mention the formula for deriving the sample size. The researcher carefully describes the sampling techniques. How did you collect your samples so that it becomes a true representation of the population that is talking about the sampling techniques. It must be carefully and critically reported. The instrument for data collection. Description. I describe in detail the instrument for data collection. Explain the content, structure, sections contained in the instrument. Describe how the instrument was developed, how you develop the instrument. Then we now talk of validity, validating the instrument. The researcher explained the procedure for establishing the validity of the instrument. It could be instruments they are using. And state the validity index. If the instrument has batteries, the validity of each battery should also be established and the indices stated. Reliability of the instrument. We describe how the reliability coefficient was or were established and the statistics used. The reliability index for the instrument should also be established. So in this area, we expect you to report the method for establishing reliability and the measure you got. So method of data collection. Describe when, where, how, and what type of data will be collected. Explain if research assistance or otherwise will be used in data collection and how. We now talk of method of data analysis. Describe how the data will be analyzed. State the statistics and software to be used. Indices or guideline for decision making should also be stated. It's not when you get to chapter 4 you begin to tell us that you are going to accept this figure if it is like this, like that. No, it has to be. Chapter 3 is where you report all your activities. So experimental procedure, if it's applicable. The following questions should be addressed. Who will perform the experiment? Will there be research assistance? What type of training will they be given or will they receive? At what point will data be collected? How will the variables be manipulated? Or what will be the nature of the treatment? Need to be stated. Then if it is instrumentation, your research is going to bring out an instrument. You have instrumentation procedure. Describe in detail how the instrument will be constructed, how the psychometric properties are developed, and also the manual. There are notes, there are things you should note. Language of reporting in research. In research proposal, the language is usually in future tense because most of the activities are yet to be done. The proposal must be completed, presented, Evaluated and approved before data collection. If data are collected before the presentation of research proposals, there may be modification during evaluation of the research proposal that may necessitate going back to the field. When this happens, a lot of resources will be wasted. So you have to know this. The research proposal can be rejected outrightly. That is, if there are problems with instruments for data collection, if the research questions, hypotheses are at variance with the title and the instrument for data collection, we can say that the research, the proposal has structural problem. And once it has structural problem, it has to be redone. So this, what we have discussed is proposal we present to institution for evaluation before a postgraduate students will proceed to collect data. If it is approved, it's evaluated, and it is good, and it is approved, the research will go on. Because in that proposal, you will convince people that your topic or the problem you have identified is existing, and you have the skill, the capacity, the knowledge to accomplish it by what you report. Thank you for listening.